No worries. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. So if we could have the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Individual, liberty,
justice for all. Thank you. And Robin, do we have any public comments?
No public comments.
Fantastic. So we can move right down into things. I can't see the agenda. Oh, sorry. I need to do the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Okay. Now, second, that's unanimous for the approval of the agenda. And we already did the public comments. My apologies on that. So I wanted to thank the Town of Bluffton staff for joining us today. I believe we have Heather with the Town of Bluffton. She's going to be serving in her capacity in her role with the town. And Mr. Orlando could not join us today, but he has, I believe, sent word that Heather is perfectly capable of doing a presentation and answering questions for us. We also have our district liaison, Ms. Carol Crutchfield, with us. And let's see, Robin Cushenberry, our board secretary. And I see Bree. Also, Bree, I think you're muted. Sorry, I apologize. I don't know how to say your last name.
Go ahead.
It's Aubrey Giroux. How are you?
We have to get Rachel unmuted. Molly, please. Okay, Rachel.
Sorry about that. There was some banging outside here. So basically what I wanted to start with is thanking you all for your time and for being here today. We wanted to kind of get an idea, since we are a new committee, wanted to get an idea and an update from the Town of Bluffton staff. I know in the past, Ms. Crutchfield and maybe some other district representatives have received an update relative to land and development and things like that that are in progress and moving in the Bluffton area. So I wanted to see if we could start the meeting with maybe getting an update on something in regard to that. I'm not sure if there was specific files or maps or anything that was shared in the past, because I wasn't a part of that, and I'm sure Carol can probably speak to it better than I could. So maybe I'll ask Carol what exactly in the past at other meetings you all have utilized, and what might be pertinent for us to view as a committee of the board.
In the past, we just get together probably maybe once a year, something like that. Sometimes when things arise that I need to be aware of, or anyway, we just meet periodically and discuss growth. We've, Kevin Eichert is on the call as well. And I know he and I have actually pulled out maps and discussed different properties and things. But I thought it might just be a good idea for you all as a committee to kind of understand how development agreements work, sort of how the town manages growth. And I thought Heather could kind of give an overview of that. There's some of that information that they provided to us in the capital improvement plan book that you all have looked at. So that gives you a sort of an idea. But I figured Heather and Kevin could certainly go into more detail, and just so you're aware of how that guides everything in terms of development in the town.
Perfect. And Kevin, I apologize. I didn't see you on my little screen here, so I apologize. Thank you for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you. And I'm going to leave mine muted. I do have kids at home, and they're screaming, playing video games in the background. So I'll mute myself as much as possible. Okay.
No worries. We totally understand.
Thanks.
So with that, did you want, is it appropriate for me to just follow up with what Carol was talking about with development agreements, and just maybe give you kind of an overview of what we prepare on a monthly and annual basis that might be helpful to this committee moving forward, or?
Yeah, that would be fantastic. And I don't know if how the whole share screen thing works, if you need that feature, but I'm sure Robin can guide us.
Okay, and I do have some things that I can pull up and share my screen if you all find that appropriate. But just to reintroduce myself, so I'm the Director of Growth Management for the town of Bluffton. So all planning approvals, permits, and building permits, and things of that nature. Bree, she's on this meeting as well. She's our special projects administrator. I may have got that a little bit tweaked, but she does a lot of things, one of which is development agreements and keep track of those, the growth and assignment of rights, and then Kevin, planning community development. So there's a lot of information that we have and we keep track of. Bluffton is unique in that, let me see, it's 92 or 94%. I apologize, I always get that a little bit mixed up, but of our land is bound by development agreements and PUDs. So we know what that build out maximum is going to be. Obviously, there's always, or could be amendments to that. Town council could approve changes to that and things of that nature, but we already know what that maximum build out is. So when that's going to happen, obviously it's a little bit of, estimates and things like that, but we keep track of that. And I can share my screen and show you what we present to council on an annual basis as far as where that build out is. The rest of the town is the traditional zoning districts as far as, what's redeveloped and things like that. So we already have a good picture of what the maximum build out is. We keep track of those trends, the assignment of rights, how many units are left. If some of those units are retired, we keep track of that as well. So we keep track of that as we move forward, but I do provide a comprehensive look at that annually to town council. We're getting ready to, in the next month or two, to present that. So if you did want me to share my screen, I can. Those numbers obviously will increase. We also we produce a monthly report to town council that shows those trends. So it shows the building permits, the development plan permits, and it shows the historical increase. So and also by neighborhood. So that may be something that Carol, I know, has looked at that, and that's on our website. So it shows where those numbers, where those homes are being built, or where the multifamily units are. So we have all of that information that we maintain and keep track of. We also have, and it's public meetings as well, what we call a development review committee. We also have the historic preservation review committee. So for the old town and the historic district, that we discuss and review all of the projects in a public meeting setting. So, where we go over those comments, and those agendas and all of that is provided to the public. Carol, I'm not sure if we send those directly to you via email, but okay, good. I was gonna say, so we make sure we share that with all the outside agencies so that we can receive any comments, or so what's coming up as far as those approvals. So we try to be, and our goal is to be as transparent and forthcoming as possible, so that there are no surprises and that everybody can plan accordingly as we move forward. And for this meeting, we did not prepare a specific presentation, but just wanted to share with you what we have and what we could do, or if you have questions in certain ways that you'd like to request the statistics or maps or things like that, we'll be happy to work with you and get you whatever you may need to be as productive and efficient with your planning. And like I said, I do have the monthly report that I could pull up and show you all, or I also have that development agreement summary report that shows where we were, at least at this point last year, that I can share my screen and show you as well. So I defer to you all.
Heather, I stopped sharing the screen, so you have the ability to share whatever it is that you want to share at this time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
Heather,
I will. Sorry,
that
go
would
ahead.
be wonderful. So you said that the updated version of what you're about to show us is going to be being presented to town council in the coming months. Do you have that already scheduled, a date scheduled for that?
Oh, sorry, bear with me for a moment.
Oh, you're fine.
I believe right now, based on the agendas and just trying to plan ahead, I believe October is when we're presenting that to town council.
Okay, that's good to know for our future meetings as well. Yeah, we'd love to see what you have from last year, and if Colonel Geyer or myself have any questions, then, or even Ms. Carol Crutchfield as well.
Okay, so this is, I'm going to scroll. Can you all see the development agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so this is everything on the screen here that's shown in this orangish color is what, like I said, what's bound by those development agreements. So all of these areas are what basically the areas that we know what's planned for. Again, everything's subject to change with town council approval and things of that nature, but these are the areas that we report on. The grayed out areas, that's the areas where it's the more traditional zoning districts where it just depends on how those lots are developed. But just starting out, so this is the map. I'm going to go scroll back up. We keep track of a lot of information, and Bree is, as well as Kevin, but Bree does a great job of keeping track of all of this information. So here you'll see the different development agreements listed out. This is what was permitted, and then we track what's already been, here's the dates for the new construction, kind of what we've seen this past year, and then those cumulative numbers. So here's that remaining, what's left. So if you scroll down and really look at this area in yellow, there's what's left and what could be, and things like that. Going through, like I said, there's more build out summary information. Like I said, just what the percentage built out is. So you'll see some of the areas, Palmetto Bluff, they still have a lot of land left that they could build and develop. And then Bluffton Village, so that's the area where the post offices and the library, they're getting closer to being built out. And again, this is just to show you what we keep track of. The development agreements aren't all a one size fits all, so they all measure and keep track of units or commercial square footage a little bit different. Residential units is easy, it's the number of units, but they all have a little bit different way that they handle it. And that's one of the reasons that they went forward with development agreements, is because it's not a one size fits all approach. Again, kind of scrolling through, here's just some more information that we keep track of as far as the development agreements, the overall density, as well as those public dedications. So what those obligations were listed out for each district area. Then if you, what we have is, so when these agreements initially were approved and executed, this is the plan, this is the development summary. So we have this for each of the development agreements, which outlines the terms and the densities. So here's where, if we're talking about the number of units and what to expect, it's 38 attached townhome units, and then goes into a little bit more detail. And then obviously we keep track of any amendments that may have been approved.
So can I interrupt right here, Heather, just
Yeah,
to sort
of
of make a point? So you'll see a lot of these development agreements were executed in the early 2000s.
Mhm.
And I will say that none of them include land for new schools. So going that 20 years back, we did not participate enough to, get into those development agreements to say, hey, set aside, 20 acres for us to be able to build something in the future. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, that's useful historical information. Thank you, Carol.
Yeah.
And I will say that there's a couple of sites where Jones Estate did have the site for the school site, and I believe that's the May River High School site.
No, Pritchard.
No, I'm sorry, it's Pritchardville.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Elementary.
Pritchardville. Sorry,
Yeah.
I apologize.
I actually am so glad to see this report, because I was trying to pull those old agreements to take a look at those, and some of that is it's very hard to track, and this is much more concise. So.
And we have this, I'd be happy to share the link, but because this was presented to town council, all of this information in this report that I'm pulling up is on the town's website from last, this was presented to town council last August of 2019. So, Carol's certainly right. Some of the other agreements just have civic use sites
Right.
included in the dedication or some other things, but and the Jones estate, that was one of the newer ones. So
Right.
know better, do better, sometimes we say. But again, so, and she's right. These are basically almost contractual agreements that were approved early 2000. Some of them have gone through some amendments, but that's, you know, they're locked in, so to speak. So we have those clear expectations moving forward, and so the infrastructure can be planned, assuming that maximum build out. Like I said, just scrolling through, we have the summaries for each of the development agreement areas. Again, just another way to outline it, and then also to see it mapped out as far as where the commercial areas were contemplated, where residential, parks and things of that nature, as well as some of the road and infrastructure improvements. Buckwalter's gone through some more amendments than others, and again, all those are just acknowledged and mapped.
Mhm.
So, and they're all a little taking the maps a little while to load, but this is what we have, and like I said, we'll update those numbers as far as the build out, like I said, on an annual basis and present it to council. And I can go to, if you have any questions on this, any more questions on this, I'm happy to answer them, or I can click to the monthly reports we also do.
And if I may,
Yes, please.
one other thing that we did tie into for Buckwalter, our 9th Amendment, is that University Investments donates 50,000 cubic yards of type AB soil for school sites. So we did build that opportunity in for y'all.
Okay, and that's on the Buckwalter 9th Amendment, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
And
And
say that again. They're
yeah, sorry, there was
donating what?
time.
University Investments, who is the property owner, John Reed, they agreed to donate, let's see, 50,000 cubic yards of type AB soil.
Oh,
So if you have to
okay.
do any fill
Mhm.
for your school site.
Yes.
Sorry, I was just checking to see if that was included in that, but that's just the initial dedications.
And when was the 9th Amendment executed?
Let's see, that was back in 2008.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Carol, this Dick Dwyer, is it possible for you to print off all of these slides and we could come down and pick them up at the district office?
Absolutely.
Really good stuff.
Absolutely.
Very, 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 very informative. But I'd like to be able to look at them a little longer. And
Right. Just so you know, Heather made a presentation back to the Community Project Review Committee when we were working and talking about growth. What's that, March or so of 19 before in preparation for referendum. So this information has been made public a couple of times through the school district that way. And I don't remember that we went into detail with you as a board on those particular issues, but Heather and I think Mark both came and did that presentation. Yeah. So it's on our website just because we posted all the presentations. So, but this is more current, I believe, probably from that. So I can get this from Heather and we'll get it to you.
Yeah, certainly. Like I said, I know it is, like you said, a lot of information to try to absorb in one quick presentation as I'm scrolling through, but like Carol said, we've done lots of different versions of this presentation with updates, and I can, send you the latest link, and in a couple months prior to the October meeting, it'll be updated again.
But
Wonderful.
one of the things that's nice to be able to do is to take this information, especially that, the one summary page where it shows percent build out.
Hmm.
So, if I'm looking at, like you said, the Palmetto Bluff agreement or the New Riverside agreement, New Riverside's only at 48%. And that's the area that encompasses Pritchardville Elementary School and May River High School. And right now the area is zoned for McCracken. Well, those are our schools that are already full. And if they're only at 48% build out, then that gives you an idea of we're going to need something else in that general area in the future.
Hmm.
Also important to lay over our attendance zones. So we can see we have them in the right spot. Are we going to build future schools in the right spot to simplify our attendance zones? It's almost gerrymandered now.
Right. Well, and attendance zones change over time, and and probably we'll go into more of this tomorrow at our regular meeting. Is sort of how I take all these pieces and parts and overlay them to look at short-term and long-term planning for schools.
And timing is a challenge because we don't know yet what the impact of the coronavirus is going to have on
Right.
build out, and so the challenge is to build just in time, and how to figure out the time. Set up with referendums, that's a very complex issue, but it's one that we're going to have to put our arms around and at least start putting things on the map and looking at 5-10 years down the road. Because I see some of these expiration dates are out in the 2030s and 2040 time frame.
Hmm.
Just in time building is kind of what I'm really looking to see if we could get a start on it. And we're certainly not going to get 100% correct on that because no one can predict what the economy is going to do and what the demographics are. Yeah, this is good stuff.
Right. And I think Heather even mentioned that, all these are approved, but we don't know what the timing of those may be. And that, I don't know if you track sort of timeline of build out in these numbers. Like, do they come in bunches?
Well, that may be a segue. I'd have to talk with Bree, figure out how, and we could look at those reports as through time. I can provide you with each of the annual reports, but something that we've also, you could use in conjunction with that, and some things that we use, especially with anticipating revenues and budgets and staffing needs and all of that for the next year, is on a monthly basis, we do track, and I'll scroll through the permits issued. We do it also by neighborhood, which correlates to the development agreement areas we said. So this is just, and we've also been very mindful to even further document, especially during the pandemic and COVID, and see how that adjusts. We're pretty much back to normal, at least the past 2 months. I don't want to say back to normal, but back to what we saw last year in terms of numbers. But we break it down, and we can provide further breakouts. But what we do is the number of building permits issued, and the breakout for this, probably what you're concerned about is the single family and the multifamily residential, as far as those trends. Further break it down by month, and also by, pardon me, sorry.
Go back up to that first one. I was trying to read. Maybe you can read it better on your screen.
Sure.
What are the other residential building permits? It says includes what?
Oh, down here. So that includes your demolition permits, electrical, gas, irrigation, pool, spas, roof repairs, tents, trailers, sprinkler systems, fire alarms, and manufactured home replacement. So it's not a new home, it's replacement of a home. So it's all of those, it's already an existing home. This is just an additional permit. So that's what's meant to capture in all of those. And similar to other commercial, but with commercial correlation. And again, we track it per month just to see how, that all follows value of construction for the same type of thing. And I'm trying to scroll down here to get to the neighborhood map, which is a lot of information. So here's your neighborhood maps. The areas that we have, you can see kind of in this area that we have it separated out by those, the neighborhoods or the subdivisions. And you can see when, and again, we can correlate that to the development agreement areas as far as when the building really, how those numbers equate and what neighborhoods are actively under construction and where.
That's good stuff.
And so again, here's the same type of thing, but for certificates of occupancy. So when are they actually moving in, or when could they actually move in? So, so again, this is broken down by, and this may be helpful for you all as far as your attendance zones you're referring to. And this we do on a monthly reporting basis to town council, and all of these reports are available on the town's website. We have a new website now, so if you go to the agenda center and look at town council, every month this is listed under the consent agenda, and it's all, like I said, it's produced on a monthly basis.
Wow.
So, like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions. And like I said, for the purposes of this meeting, I didn't pull together any specific presentation, but I can certainly send you just pieces and parts and what you all need to, move forward for your meetings, or however, whatever you all need to plan accordingly.
Dick, do you have any other questions?
Well, I really like this. I'm a kind of data guy, and graphic data display. I would really like to get a hold of it and spend some time looking at it. It's got all the information that we need, and the only thing that we then have to look at forecasting as what's going to come in the future. The trends I'd really like to be able to see trend lines. And, I'll go back to that McKiffin report that we had done. And one of the things he said was the infrastructure will be built out before the land is built out. Now I don't know where he got that data, and I don't know what he's referring to, whether he's referring to water from the Jasper Water and Sewer Authority, or if it's electrical backbone or anything like that. Do you have any data on supporting infrastructure? I'm talking roads and power and water and so on. Because he mentioned that in his report when he showed the growth of Bluffton peaking. I believe it wasn't it, Dr. Wisniewski, like 2021. 2022, and I, based on your expiration dates and so on, just in a very quick glance, I don't think you built out by that time. So, do you track that infrastructure requirement, or is that part of the impact fees and so on that developers pay? That well, they're going to be paying for that as they go. Is that the way you all do this?
A little bit of both. So the development agreements, when they were first approved, there's an overall traffic studies that were done that contemplated all of this, which all of that, in terms, the easy way to explain is, you drive down Buckwalter Parkway and Bluffton Parkway and you see the roads to nowhere, so to speak, because development's contemplated back there at some point. But then further dialing in, whenever a development or a master plan, so you have the development plan, the concept plan, so the bigger picture, the maps I showed you, and then as each of those neighborhoods or sub areas come in, there's a further, more detailed initial master plan that's approved. When that's done, and then the next step is the development plan, so you're actually ready to build. At those stages of development, they have to provide updated traffic impact analysis or traffic plans that may require improvements, like you said, impact fees, and things like that. And once they get to the point of wanting to be able to build, then we get the approval from, the water, Beaufort Jasper Water and Sewer Authority, as well as the, utility companies. So it definitely has to come when development comes, but, may need to be adjusted along the way. So does that answer your question?
Well, yes, and let me ask you, other agencies that have to deal with growth, like the fire department, they've got to put fire stations. They're going to need to put those things, because I mean, their issue, something similar to ours, is where we put our neighborhood schools versus where they put their neighborhood fire stations. Are they doing something like this as well?
Oh, she might be muted. Robin, sorry. Thank you.
Sorry about that. So the fire district, and I think I lost a little bit of sound there at the beginning. The fire district, they are part of that, similar to what Carol gets for the school district side of things, receive those development review committee meeting agendas, and they provide comments on the plans, and actually have to provide approval for the plans as well. So they are part of the planning process. They're part of even the approval process for certificate of occupancies or certificate of construction compliance, as well as the post office is too. So as far as the kiosks and things that you may not think about along the way, but it is important, and another infrastructure piece that has to be included. But that information and approvals come at that, like I said, the approval of the actual development plan. They're actually getting ready to either build their infrastructure or site improvements, or vertical as well.
Thank you. Well, unless Kevin or Bree had anything else to add, or Carol had any questions, I think this is fantastic. I think getting this information at this point in time is going to be useful for us to get us up to speed, and to have our conversations with Carol further. And then once the new one comes out, we of course will be interested in that information. So Dick, if you'd like, I'm definitely going to be putting it on my calendar to attend that meeting, so that I can take a look at it and see the presentation when it comes out. And we look forward to seeing that. And Heather, I thank you very much for being here today and presenting this to us. I think it's definitely shed light on some information that Dick and I were not exactly privy to yet. I know some of it had been out there, and maybe certain questions hadn't been able to be asked. So I'm very thankful that we are able to do so now, and to be involved in the conversations with you all about the growth in Bluffton. So with that, if no one has any other questions, we might circle back around with you guys, after that next report comes out. I see maybe having another meeting to discuss that information, and maybe ask any questions we might have also at that time. So I just wanted to kind of preempt that. And Robin, I can't see the agenda, but I think this was the only item on the agenda for today. So
Yes, it was.
okay. And so if no one has anything further, Carol, if you don't have any questions, or Dick, I saw the information. I would love to see it on hard paper, because I am a tangible holding the paper person. So Robin, if we could get a printout of these, that would be wonderful. I would really greatly appreciate that.
I will get with Ms. Collins and Carol to see what I can get, and then I will forward it to you all.
Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you everyone for your time today. I appreciate it. And if I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Geyer. I'll second.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Greatly appreciate it.